a function of what New Yorkers have done. Nothing else. For local governments, I had the local governments on the telephone yesterday on what we call the regional control groups. The local governments have a vital role here, and they have to do it. The local governments have to enforce compliance. It's not popular. It's not fun. Everybody wants to be out. Everybody wants to reopen. Everybody wants freedom. I get it. Discipline matters. Local governments have to do their job. They have to enforce compliance. They have to study their local data. When they find those positive cases, they have to trace those cases back. Where are people getting the virus? Are they getting it at work? Are they getting it at a restaurant? Are they getting it on the street corner? Are they getting it at protests? That's the function for the local government. And when you see a cluster in that infection rate, the local governments have to attack it. I know it's tedious, but it's also very important. And I said to the local governments frankly yesterday, this is their job. And if they don't do their job, then they're going to have a really unpopular task, which is explaining to their local community why they have to slow or stop the reopening. You have some states that are now stopping the reopening. That is the last thing anybody wants to do, and that is totally counterproductive. So I said to the local governments, I say to them again, mayors, county executives, do your job, because that's what's controlling the spread of the virus, and you have to continue doing it. I say to the citizens of this state, who are the ones who accomplished the impossible, they are the ones who reduce that transmission rate. You have to stay smart, keep doing what we're doing, don't let up. Don't think, well, now we're reopening, everything is fine, the weather's better, everything is fine, I hear New York is doing well. It is, but only because of what you're doing. That's been the secret from day one. You stop doing what you're doing, you'll see those numbers turn. So we have to stay smart, stay disciplined. To the protesters, I say, wear a mask. It is the law. I signed an executive order that says it is the law. If you cannot socially distance, you must wear a mask. I also say, especially to my young friends, this is nothing. This is nothing. I don't know what this is. This is like a form of a chin guard. That's what this is. It may be a fashion statement. It may be cool. But this accomplishes nothing. It's not a mask. It's nothing. Well, I'm just taking a break from my mask. No. This accomplishes nothing, right? It's nose and it's mouth. Nose and mouth. For me, the nose and mouth is a big job, covering the nose and mouth. All right? But this is a mask. This is a chin guard. Nobody told you to wear a chin guard. Wear a mask. So I say that to the protesters. I also say to the police, wear a mask. It is the law. And the law is the law for the police. Right? So wear a mask. It is the state law. It's not an option. And stay New York tough, smart, united, disciplined, and loving.
With regard to the first thing, the police, reforming, does that mean that a police force or a locality is required to defund, or can they just reorganize within the department?
They reorganize, redesign, reform, however they see fit, right? This is a new stage. People are still out protesting. You don't need to protest. You won. You won. You accomplished your goal. society says you're right. The police need systemic reform. That was accomplishment 1. Now go to step 2. What reform do you want? What do you want? I want systemic reform. Okay. How do you define systemic reform? Let's sit down at a table with the local government, with the police, with the other stakeholders. How do we redesign the police department? We start with this. It's a blank piece of paper. What do you want the police department to be in New York City? Let's design it. Here's a pen. Let's design it. What functions? What's the staff? What's the budget? What should they stop doing? We design it together. We have 9 months to do it. The local government convenes it. The local government convenes all the stakeholders. Take 9 months. It's easier said than done. And pass a law enacting that redesign by April 1. Well, what if we don't? Or if we can't agree? Then you don't qualify for state funding.
But does the agreement, must it include, it sounds like it doesn't. Doesn't have to include defunding. If they reorganize it in a way that's agreeable to the locals, that's okay?
Well, defunding literally means there's no police department, right?
Well, I mean, like New York City wants to move out $1 billion out of the state budget, out of the police budget.
Yeah, that they can, whatever the budget they want is fine. Whatever budget they want, whatever size police force they want. Let them determine that. Let them determine what demilitarize the police means. Let them determine a use of force policy. Let them determine a bias policy. Let them determine a disciplinary process. What should be done with citizen complaints? When do they become public? How about the disposition? Is that public? How long until you have a disposition of a complaint? Whatever they want, community by community, because New York City will want one type of police department. Suffolk will want a different type of police department. Buffalo will want a different type of police department. They're all reacting to different stimuli. What's true across the board is people want a different police department. That's what the protesters were saying. I agree with them. We've been talking about this for 40, 50 years. We're on to the new question. What does it look like? I heard you. You're right. We need systemic reform. Let's do it. Let's design the new police force.
Governor, when you talk about withholding state funding, are you referring to specifically funding for state funding for local law enforcement, which is just 1% of the NYPD's budget, or are you suggesting that education funding and other state aid for non-law
City governments and criminal justice budgets? We want the local governments to do this. New York City has to pass the plan, right? They're going to have to pass a law by April 1 that redesigns the police force. Maybe a new budget, maybe new level of staffing, maybe new disciplinary procedure, maybe new bias procedure, maybe new equipment. Whatever it is, they decide. They redesign their police force. They pass a law for that by April 1. If they don't, which is also coincident with the state budget, as you know, if they don't pass the law, then that city, that police agency will be ineligible for funding.
So you're saying then that all state aid to localities could potentially be withheld if a local government enacts some sort of police reforms?
Theoretically, yes. It will, in any case, be a significant amount of funding. There are some funds that are vital for health and human services that we would fund directly. But yeah, it'll be a significant amount of funding to that locality.